Hello, everyone. As with every major update we do to the mod manager, I try to record a small video to go over everything we've added, everything we've changed, and kind of go around the mod manager and teach new users how they can use it, what are the different features we support, and answer some of the common questions we get either on our Discord, on our subreddit, or on Twitter. So let's first start. As soon as you get the update notification or as soon as you download the new version of the mod manager, it's nicely versioned 0.0. That doesn't mean that we're stable yet. It just means this is a major overhaul of everything we've had for the longest time. And we were able to ship this with the help of a lot of contributors on our GitHub. And so thanks to them, I don't have the list of the names, but I probably will mention them on the actual announcement post that I will do on Discord. And also thanks to our core contributors who helped test and build a lot of the features that I'm going to show when we go over the mod manager. So as soon as you open it up, you'll be welcomed with this video. Right now it's just a placeholder. And then there's a huge list of changes. And this is, of course, just the changes that are user facing. There are a lot of changes we've done that are a bit too technical to show on the changelog. And so we just omitted them. But if you're curious, you can always check our GitHub page and the release post for all the changes that have been done. We've been working on it over the last 2 months or so. Now let's get started. You could read this or you can skip it. It's up to you. And you can also check the full release notes as soon as they're available on our GitHub. And click got it and you'll be welcomed with the new dashboard. So traditionally the old dashboard just had a couple of cards that showed the new mod and so on, but it didn't look that great. So now we changed the layout a bit. So every week there will be a highlighted mod that you can check out. You'll also have a quick count of how many mods you have installed, how many updates you have pending, how many downloads are there. Also, some quick access buttons to access the mod store and to manage your profiles. There will also be a couple of featured mods in each category. So these are featured mod and skins. And then you have gameplay, HUD, and so on. So the list is a bit long. But you can check out some of the popular mods on here. And then there will also be at the bottom section that will have a changelog in case you dismissed it too quick the first time so you can revisit it. And there's an announcement section up top, and this will most likely be doing most of our communication for people that are not on our Discord, and mostly for news that we think we should probably check out. So on the sidebar, or let's start first with the top bar. So we moved the profile switch, this section, so you either access it here on or from here. And also the button to share your current profile is also next to it. Then you have the usual launch without mods and launch modded, and then the auth. Whenever you log in with your user accounts, you should be able to see it here and sign out. Downloads page, nothing major. It just doesn't show any random zeros right now. I know that's been a weird bug on there, so we fixed that. On the settings, we've cleared up quite a bit. All the settings that we've had on the mod manager, now they're nicely organized and you can browse through them. We can actually just go through them right now. So you have your usual, the new health bar, so you can toggle on. You have the Auto-Exec, which has a bunch of changes, and these were inspired by the Grimoire mod manager. So it's one of the other mod managers that have popped up recently while we're working. We're pretty excited actually to see that there are other people interested in doing this. So we saw this idea on there, and that would be pretty nice to add on our mod manager as well. Of course, we had the Auto-Exec for the longest time. This just lists some of the Valve documented commands that can be added to the Auto-Exec and be used whenever you launch the game, basically. So these are cleared up by categories, so performance, network, and so on. You could go through these. Some of these are not tested. Some of these are. Of course, whenever you add one, just make sure you can click add. You can scroll down here and you'll see that it's been added. And then if it works, then that's good. If it doesn't work, then remove it and then you can restart. So you'll need to do a bit of testing here and there to make sure that it don't break your game. On the game section, we changed two things. One, we added a way to set the Steam pad. So some Linux users had issues where we couldn't automatically detect where their Steam installation is. So to set a custom Steam pad, you just toggle this and then it will default to the path we detect, but you can set it to a different one if you'd like. Here you have your usual, just a quick explainer about this. So this just tells you what is the status of your GameInfo.gi, which is the main file that we modify, or if you've done manual modding, the file that you had to modify to add the search paths to load your add-ons. So we have a couple of utility actions that you can trigger. Basically, whenever you launch modded, we modify the game info file to inject the search paths that you need to load your add-ons. And as some of you may have noticed or come across, whenever there's an update from Valve, they tend to overwrite this file. So when you try to load your mods the next time, you'll need to reapply changes. Sometimes the mod manager is able to do that, and so you don't notice any difference. Sometimes it's not, so you get the small error, hey, please reset to vanilla. And what that does basically, it simulates you verifying the game on Steam, so it resets the GameInfo.gi to the default content, which then the mod manager modifies to add the search paths to it. You can also open it in a file editor and look at this separately, and then yeah, you'll see the same stuff that we do. So this is the section that gets added by the mod manager, or rather modified by the mod manager. So yeah, you can back up the game info. If there's already a backup, you can restore it. You can reset it to vanilla, which is equivalent to verifying your game on Steam. You can also ask the mod manager to verify the configuration in case you modified it manually. So in case you forgot some closing brackets or parentheses or something in the game info, you can use that to verify it. Or like I did, open it in an editor and do the manual changes on your own. The last one is the hero parser, and that's basically for some mods that don't have the correct category on Game Banana, we're able to detect which hero do these mods affect. So if I open one of the mods randomly here, for example, this is a Paradox, we already know that it's for Paradox. And this is particularly useful whenever you install a new mod and it's, for example, trying to install a new Paradox skin. So let's go and do that together on here. So let's look for Paradox. So this is a Paradox skin. Let's try and download this one. You can select which version, doesn't matter. Up. And then if I try and enable this mod, it will actually say, hey, Paradox already has a mod. So do you want to swap your current mod? Do you want to keep both on for whatever reason? I don't recommend doing that. And you can just click swap and it does a little animation and it swaps to this mod file. So that's one thing. What else do you have on this page? We have a big explainer, because we notice a lot of confusion for people about the 99 add-on limit, which there are ways around, but we haven't implemented any. We do have plans to do so in the near future. Basically, we explained that, yeah, there's a 99 VPK file limit on the mod files that you add. Some mods, like for example, QLlock, have multiple files. So if you add QLlock, it's like, you notice that it will say, for example, 6 files instead of 1. I think that's where most of the confusion has been, because people would download QLlock and then we would be above the limit and be like, why? I only see, I don't know, 80 mods installed, but you saying that I have 120 mod files installed. So this kind of explains the difference. This will tell you how many mods you have enabled, how many of those mods are in your library, and how many, for each mod, how many files are enabled for that mod. So you can work with that. Going back to settings and to the next sections, we have the usual stuff. Basically, reapply mod, it just reapplies the changes we do to the game info whenever you launch the game. Then you can, of course, vanilla mode. There's pagination, so whenever you browse on the mods library, you'll notice, or the mod store, you notice that there's no pagination. We just load things as you scroll. On Linux, this has a big performance hit because of WebKit, which we also have a couple of good news for, so I'll mention that later. So you can enable paginated browsing if you'd like. You can also switch your mod manager to be on the nightly version. That way you can have the latest changes before they're actually officially released. There are some internal testers on the Discord that have been running this version of the mod manager for a while now. There's developer mode, which is mostly for mod authors, and it allows them to do things like hot swap a mod file. So if I open this Paradox file, I can actually just replace whatever VPK it comes with another one. This is useful if you're developing a mod and you want to quickly test without having to care about copying the right file and writing the right file. And what else? This is for the Deadlock API to collect your stats. You can disable it if you'd like. global settings. For some people, if you notice like there's a bit of performance hit or the mod manager using a bit too much CPU or too much GPU, you can disable these geometries that you see on the. There are bit small UI stuff that you can disable if you don't want them, or if you don't want them to be animated, you can disable that as well. We also have themes. So now themes are no longer part of plugins. They are actually integrated into the application. So you can have custom themes, some of the ones that Skeptic already built, or you could make your own custom theme. And here we have a visual custom theme builder where you can pick whatever changes you want, whatever colors you'd like, and actually apply them to the mod manager. And you can see a quick preview of how that would look on the different sections of the app. And then once you like your theme, you can apply it, you can save it. This is something Skeptic worked on, and it's pretty nice. I like it very much. Networks, you've seen this before. You can select which file cache or server you can download the mods from when you're downloading files from Game Banana. Do note that not all files get copied to all caches. So if you set, for example, file cache 31 as your default one, and then try to download the mod and it doesn't work, you probably need to change the file cache to another one that might have the file. If you leave it at automatic or rather default, you will always get the file cache that has the file, but sometimes we notice that some people get quickly throttled and the download speeds are horrendous, those people, so we prefer to give you a way to control which file cache you want to download from. Also, something that has been requested was proxy support. So now you can actually add the proxy to proxy all your requests. We noticed that Game Banana is geo-blocked on a couple of regions and some states in the US and in Russia and so on. So Russia, there's a way to do a bypass, but for other states, you really have to do you need to use a VPN. You can use the proxy setting if you have proxies. If you're not familiar, you can just disable it and it doesn't matter. I'll skip plugins and skip directly to Discord. So if some of you have been using the Deadlock Rich Presence application, which basically just shows your Deadlock status on Discord, I guess Deadlock doesn't do that yet. It just shows that you're playing Deadlock. It doesn't specifically tell what kind of match, if you're on lobby or what kind of hero you're playing and so on. So we've integrated this with the help of Changelog, Jasmine's help. I want to butcher the name. And we've added this into the mod manager, so you can now toggle this on. And if you have the mod manager launched and you launch Deadlock, it will show your activity status as this, so that you have a small preview. You can, of course, see the different states. So whenever you're on the main menu, whenever you're in the hideout, or when you're looking for a match, or already in a match with a party or solo and so on, or spectating. And you can also change the type of text, so you can type whatever you want. And there are a couple of variables that you can use. For example, I could type I'm playing and then hero, and that would render whatever here. So I'm playing Vindicta. That's just an example. You can set an override for all heroes, or you can have like custom status messages per hero. So you could say for Apollo, griefing my team as a top line. No offense to Apollo players, but you get the idea. So once you change those, you'll get an indicator that you modified those, and you can save it. That will get applied whenever you launch the game. You can also see it live. So if you have the game and you're on the hideout as one of the heroes, you'll be able to see live activity change on Discord. Tools section. This has been something we've constantly asked people to use, but people rarely looked at, and it's mostly because it was fairly technical and not really super useful for non-tech users or people not really familiar with modding. And these are just a couple of quick access links to the game folder, the mods folder, and the app data. So where we store the mods we download. Mod folder is your mod folder as you would expect, and then the game folder is the game folder on Steam. It doesn't matter, but you have a couple of buttons that you can use whenever things get screwed up on the mod manager. One that we've often recommended is the clear mod states, and that basically removes mods from your mods library but doesn't delete the actual files. And we now explicitly explain what each button does, so you can look at that and use it whenever you need to. Backups. This is a pretty useful feature, but I feel like it hasn't been presented to people that often. Which is basically, and it also auto triggers whenever you update some mod. We make a backup of your entire add-ons folder. If you notice that there's a lot of disk usage, it's probably because you have too many backups set up. We tend to only keep the last 5, but basically this just makes a dumb copy of your entire add-ons folder that you can So that way, if you're either coming from manual mod management to the mod manager, or if you're doing big operations like deleting a bunch of mods and installing a bunch of mods, you can keep a backup of your existing mods and you would have them. Do note that this only keeps the VPK files that you had as add-ons, but doesn't mean that they would be automatically detected inside of the mod manager. They might, thanks to a new change we have, but not always, so I wouldn't count on it. The mods will work as intended inside of the game, but they will not show up on the mod manager unless if you run the analyze local add-ons button. So this is on here. And lastly, there is logging. This is mostly just to get logs. If you run through issues, we will probably ask you to send us your logs. So you can send the mod manager logs. You can send the Deadlock crash dumps as well. And you can also, if you already have these two, you can also directly ask ChatGPT or whatever AI you use for help to debug what's going on. And there's just a shortcut thanks with this AI button. Experimentals, if you're logged in, there will be some experimental features on here, like the server browser, which you can see here, but that's hidden typically for people that are not signed in. You can actually opt in so you can try out those features before they're officially released, I would say. Same for custom maps and so on. Privacy is the same as usual, toggles to disable not safe for work stuff, and then to control the blur. And then there's telemetry for dual analytics. You'll get a dialog whenever you open the mod manager that will basically ask you, hey, you want to help us by sending us anonymous user statistics? Those are really helpful for us to know which features on the mod manager are being used, where are people running into issues, and so on. We don't collect any personal information from you. Don't really need it. So it's not even linked to your actual user. We just use the random unique hardware ID and then whatever toggles that you had on. That's the main use case for it. And if you're in doubt, you can either use our DeepWiki from our repo. If you click on this, ask DeepWiki, you can ask how does telemetry work? And it would actually explain to you what do we collect and what kind of info. So even if you're not super technical, you can ask it. You can even say, explain it like I'm 5, and it will explain how everything works. That's the advantage of being fully open source, is that we can have this kind of wiki that you can interact with and know really that we're not just saying, hey, we promise you we're not collecting personal information, but you can actually track the code and see what it actually collects. And lastly, there's a couple of thank you notes. Thank you to Game Banana, a couple of the Deadlock Rich Person projects, and some of the open source repos that we've been using. There's also a button to reset the onboarding, which you can click on it if you have never seen it. We just ask you to acknowledge that, yeah, you know that the mods are third-party files. So you can accept that. We check that we detected your game. We check that you're connected to the API. Select download server. You can analyze your existing mods if you already have them. And then the telemetry consent. So you can agree to this or you can disagree to it. We don't disable anything on the mod manager. If you decide to not enable it, that's completely fine. Moving on, a mods library, you've seen it. It's the usual things. The only new thing is this little cog, which is the manage files. And for that one, I'll do a demo by downloading QLlock. So for mods like QLlock that come with a bunch of files, you could say, okay, I just want the base mod, and you can download that. And that's what I'm going to do right now. But then if you decide afterwards, I'll skip the fonts for now. If you decide afterwards, hey, I actually want to also download some of the optional stuff, you can also do that. So if you click manage files, it will show you which of the files that are listed on the mod you have already downloaded. Small issue here, but that's fine. And you can reselect which other optional things that you want to download as well and apply them, and that will automatically download those and keep track of them. And once they're downloaded, they're going to be auto enabled, as you can see here. So you can see which VPKs are enabled, and you can also see the list of the original zip files that you've downloaded and have enabled. And this is particularly useful if you have like multiple variants of a mod. So if it's say you download the famous Yamato skin that comes with a couple of colors, you could download the mod. You could download, let's say, the white version. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. But we can let this download in the background and I'll come back to it later. Mod store, Same as usual, you have your filters, you have your search. We're still going to change the filters a bit because some people are not really used to the include exclude behavior. Added favorite buttons, so you could select and favorite a couple of mods, and then you can come back to these mods later if you want. If you want to only see your favorite mods and toggle between them and so on. We have the sorts by filter by time, and then the sort by order that you can also set. Then you can also clear the filter whenever you have them. So let's see if Yamato downloaded. It did. So now that I have Yamato, let's say I have the white variant downloaded, and I can see here Yamato white. If I want to change to a different variant, I can do that by just deselecting the white and selecting the red version. And this will automatically swap out the VPK file that's being used for this Yamato skin. So it's the same pack09 VPK file, but it did swap into the red variant. I also did a couple of changes to the gallery, so you can now actually see the full screen images and browse between them. Previously, it was a bit of a horrible experience to actually browse the mods. Also, don't forget to thank the mod authors to donate if you can. You'll get the little support call out that you can use, and this will link directly to whatever support method the author has listed on Game Banana. I highly recommend you do that. The mod authors are doing God's work in Deadlock, and they're really making the game fun. So please do donate if you can. And if you're also interested in custom mods, do join the Discord. We have commission sections on it, and we have a couple of really nice and really talented mod authors on the Discord that you can ask for custom mods. Moving on, there's the map section. So this is hidden by default unless you opt in, but I can show you an example of a map that you can download and how that will work. So let's look for my favorite. Let's say you take there's so many maps. Right. If you take, for example, the soccer stadium, you'll notice that there's a new section on how to play a map, and it basically allows you to spin up a local server that you can invite your friends to. So if you click download the map and you install it, it'll probably not demo the full flow. You'll get a launch map button. Then as soon as you launch it, it's gonna automatically run this this command in your console, so it will load the actual map automatically. And then if you visit this, if you alt tab to the mod manager again, it will also give you the Steam ID code that you can use to invite your friends. Then your friends can just type the command you're going to get and to join your game on the custom map. They need to have the custom map already downloaded. So this is one way of joining custom maps. The other way is through the server browser, but this is currently empty. But we do have a plan to integrate with Deadworks. So if you're not familiar, check it out. It's a really nice project. And it's a custom server-side Deadlock modding framework, or if you want to call it that way. And they have a bunch of servers already you can join, mostly Moglock, that's being built by Sivo, who's also created the author for QLlock. And they've been doing a lot of really cool things with that, so I highly recommend it. And we're going to integrate with this soon so you can actually see the actual servers on the server browser and launch games and play with your friends. Then you have the usual sections, the crosshair. You can pick a crosshair you like, you can apply it, and then you also have a history of all crosshairs that you've applied, and you can toggle between them. Then a crosshair will automatically add the relevant code to the Auto-Exec. I think that's pretty much it. Maybe two small things. If you notice that any of these indicators is red, if this one is red, then that means that we couldn't connect to the API. So if you check our status page, which is on status.deadlockmods.app, if any of these is red, it's probably an issue on our end. If it's not red, then it's an issue on your end, and it's probably because you're being geo-locked, and so you have to either use a VPN, or if you're in Russia, there's a bypass you can do. It's documented in our Discord, or check if you have just something on your network settings that's blocking our API endpoints. If you're unable to log in, or if the authentication server is down, this will be red, so you won't be able to log in. But speaking of which, we already fixed how you can... we already fixed the issue where you always had to re-log in. Now we correctly persist your session, so you don't have to re-log in that often. Last one is just the add-ons folder in GameInfo are not read-only. This has been a common issue where people download Deadlock and Steam by default puts their GameInfo and add-ons folder to read-only, so they can't install anything and the mod manager can't load anything. And this will be in red if that is the case. The last one is the Discord presence thingy. So you can choose that to check if your Discord presence thingy is working. That's referring to this feature. I believe I went over everything. As always, if this version works for you, then that's good. If it doesn't work for you, you can always downgrade. If you want to check for updates, you can click the check for updates button here at the bottom. If you have any feedback, bug reports, and so on, please do join our Discord. Do send us a message, or if even better, you can create a GitHub issue. That would be very much appreciated. We added some quality of life things, like people asked for a disable all button, so we added that, so you can disable all mods if you'd like. Yeah, and for the if you ever get this unrecognized mod files, refresh and see. Okay, I'll emulate it now because some people have been complaining they've been getting it. I clear my mod state, which is just deleting whatever mods I have installed. So if you ever get this warning, it's not really meant to be a warning. It's more of a, hey, there are some mods inside of your mod folder. So like this, that you have a couple of VPKs on here that we don't recognize. So that were not managed by the mod manager, or that the mod manager doesn't know about. Usually if you just refresh this Control R, the mod manager will re-add them automatically. If it can. If it can't add them automatically, it will ask you to just run analyze local add-ons. And that will try and match those files. So which Game Banana mod post is that? But that will not work for mods that have multiple files, or at least it will try, but usually it doesn't work that great just because of mods change in the meantime. We haven't caught up. We sync every hour, so it takes a bit of time to get everything straight. We also added a new JSON file inside of the add-ons folder that kind of keeps track of which file belongs to which mod and what order it is, and this just serves as a single source of truth. So if anything breaks on the mod manager for whatever reason, we have a record to fall back to say, hey, okay, this mod was in load order 1 or 2 or whatever. So usually, if you have any issues, this is one of the things we did to kind of make the swapping and changing VPKs a bit more stable. So let us know if you notice any difference and if you've been having issues in the past. But if everything is working great, do also let us know, because we keep hearing about the things that go wrong and less about the things that went well. It's a bit bad, but we kind of got used to it at this point. I think that is all for now. Do check the announcements post and the changelog for a detailed overview. What did we release? Because I may have missed some things. People will probably scream at me on the contributors channel that I missed a couple of things. Oh, speaking of which, if you're on Linux and if you go to our GitHub repository, there's a nightly release tag that you can check out. So for example, this one, you'll notice that we've added 2 sets of files that have the CEF suffix. It's not really a suffix, but you see it has CEF. And what's special about these is a version of the mod manager that doesn't use WebKit. So the way you would check which, WebKit or Chromium, and it's basically how, so the framework we use, Tori, we use to build the desktop app, renders the application, which is technically a web application, and it renders it like an integrated browser, you could say. And that browser has been using WebKit and not Chromium. Chromium has noticeably better performance on Linux compared to WebKit. And so a lot of the people that have been having issues with performance on Linux should hopefully try the CEF. In the way you can check, if you just click the 3 dots and go to settings, you'll see it's Microsoft Edge icon, or then if you have the CEF version, if I close this, for example, and open my installed nightly version, it should show the Chromium 1. On Windows, there's not much difference. So you see the little Chrome icon on here, but you can also see if you just go to more tools, for example, whatever, open, no, not this, more tools, what's new, you'll see that, yeah, it's Chromium. Yeah, please try it out. And if it turns out that it's actually working great, we'll completely swap from WebKit to Chromium. But that's only if we get feedback from you. I could dual boot Linux. I could run it on a couple of distros. It usually works fine for me, but I can't run every combination of OS hardware setup that people have. So please do let me know. I also did some magic, or rather Cursor did some magic to try and pack into Flatpak, which was very annoying, but try that as well and let me know if that works. And yeah, you can see the list of commits is pretty long. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you for using the mod manager. Do let us know if you have any feedback. Do check out the other mod managers and other tooling section. It's on Game Banana. If you go on Game Banana tools and click on the tools section, you'll see that there are a couple of tools that people of the community have been working on. Do check them out and let us know if there are any features or stuff that you've seen on there that you would like us perhaps add to the mod manager. We'll of course usually check with the authors to see if that's okay to do. But we're also pretty open. The entire mod manager is open, and I already know that some of the tools out there have been using parts or taking inspiration of the mod manager, which is pretty nice. It's the whole reason the project is open source. So highly encourage it. Thank you again. Do join our Discord, and I'll catch you on the next update. Bye.